Welcome to the age of SaaS, where churn, lifetime value, and cost to acquire are top of mind, and acronyms like MRR, ARR, and ACV are being tossed around like a beach ball at a concert. So how do SaaS leaders motivate, measure, and maintain momentum? We're picking them up on their way to SaaS North and asking them the questions you want to know in Leaders in Lyfts Getting Lattes.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. This is our next interview, part of this Leaders in Lyfts Getting Lattes. There's no latte today, Eric, so I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I had one right before I got in the lift.
Good. Yeah, I've had my coffees too, so I think we're all set. And just a quick thank you to the folks that are helping us put this on. So Klipfolio, of course, Stratford managers, Lyft. We've got our awesome trusty driver, Kareem, who's been helping us. So thank you very much. And today my guest of honor is Eric Boduch from Pendo.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, for sure. And you just did a great keynote session this morning that I heard was a ton of fun.
Yeah, we talked about acquisitions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think was the title. Yeah. And it's funny because Hannah's from England. And so I was like, I'm going to do an interview in a Lyft. And she's like, I look at her, she's like, quizzical. And I'm like, oh, by Lyft, I mean the company, not the elevator. And she's like, oh, yeah, that would have been a really short interview.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I mean, Uber just announced that they're no longer in the UK or no longer in London, right? So, I mean, there's that too. So, anyway, so here we are. We're going to talk a little bit about Pendo. I mean, Pendo has had just a meteoric rise. Eric, maybe you want to tell a little bit about, first of all, just, quick elevator pitch about what Lyft does, and then maybe talk about how it got started.
Sure.
And some of the highlights.
Sure. So Pendo makes software for product managers, a complete product cloud. So everything from analytics to feedback to in-app messaging, guidance, adoption. So we're a one-stop shop for product managers. We got started as 4 product guys getting together, and it really started in around usage data.
Yeah.
Like, we were always struggling when we were running our own products to understand how they were being used, because the only way to do that was to take engineers away from core features and have them do instrumentation, so they can show you like, oh, this person's using this feature, and then you would often learn things.
So I didn't even realize that. So this was almost like Google Analytics for product, or today's Mixpanel or Heap product.
It started as a Google Analytics for product. Unlike like the Mixpanels, the Heaps, we were focused on product right from the beginning as 4 product people. So we're like building something for ourselves, and then we quickly realized that not only do we want the data, but we want to act on it before the next engineering sprint. So we added guides on top of that that could say, hey, we know you're struggling setting up staging servers. Let us walk you through how to do it. So that's where it started, and moved from analytics from guidance to things like feedback and NPS and polling, and now in-app training.
How long did it take to sort of figure out that the product market fit was just slightly outside of what the company does today?
I don't know if it was really outside of what it does today, but we just made an early decision to go broad, and to try to be, we didn't see that there was like a sales force for product teams, right? There was no solution like that. We often had been forced to use other people's tools, like having done product management forever, our early tools were like Microsoft Project and Excel, right? Yeah. And there's an opportunity when someone's main tool set are those, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we looked at it and said, it's great that we can do this, but now we'd love to be able to do this. So we made a conscious decision just to go broader with our product offering earlier, just because we saw that there was no good solutions in those space geared towards product.
Yeah, we're gonna get our studio lighting on here.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
The makeup was good too.
Do tell. So maybe the DNA of the company. So if it was 4 product folks that started this company, obviously there's just a tremendous movement and a shift more from sort of marketing-led selling to sales-led selling to sort of product-led selling. Was this part of kind of the DNA of how you started and why you wanted to have sort of a product first experience?
Yeah, even though we had slightly different backgrounds, we all had that core background in product. I think it definitely led to a product focus, right? And it just happens to be that's a wave of today where product-led's a big movement. You see this evolution of a role of product operations, and product becomes this enabling group within a company, right? So now product's giving data to customer success so they better understand the health of their customers. Product's enabling salespeople to sell better by telling them more about how their prospects are using the product during a trial and what to emphasize and what not to emphasize. So product's helping all these other departments be more powerful, do their job better.
I was chatting with Ben Chestnut from MailChimp, is it? And his product team even owns some of the revenue. You know, so I mean that whole shift, I think, is really powering a lot of innovation and just investment. And how do we onboard, and how do we help make people more successful in product?
Yeah, and I think it's important. You mentioned product owning, revenue. I think product needs to own retention. When you think about, retention, there's some major factors. You mentioned onboarding, right? Onboarding's probably the biggest. The success of onboarding is probably the biggest indicator of future retention. It is the biggest indicator of future retention and renewal. And because of that, retention is really a number product needs to be paying attention to. Because what has more impact on retention than the product itself, than your experience with the product?
Absolutely.
It's not going to be, how well you get along with the customer success rep or how quick support gets back to you, though those do have impact.
No, and it's a much more honest way, in my opinion, much more honest way. The onus is on the value of the product.
Yes. If your product doesn't deliver value, it doesn't matter how good your customer support is, it doesn't matter how good your outreach is, it doesn't matter how good your thought leadership is. If your product can't deliver value, your customers aren't going to renew.
So I'm always curious to ask the companies that have a certain product how they actually use their own product. What does your go-to-market look like? What does the onboarding steps look like? What have you learned? What works? What isn't? How's that influencing your roadmap?
I mean, it's like an ongoing journey, right?
Yeah.
We try to onboard people differently based upon who they are.
Sure. So you segment.
So there's a lot of let's onboard you based on your role a little bit differently. If you're a product versus a CS person, because we have a lot of customer success people using our products, so we'll try to onboard them differently. If it's a brand new installation versus just a new user, the onboarding is different. So we try to customize that onboarding, personalize that onboarding, adapt that onboarding to who they are and their unique situations, and work in their use cases, their business cases. Because we're a broad product, a lot of companies will start and say, our big push to start with is NPS, or our big push is feature adoption, or our big push is to build an onboarding flow. So we'll customize our onboarding based upon what their use cases are too. So I think that's important. And then in general, I mean, we have people in product all the time. I mean, our customer success people are on there before they'll reach out to one of their customers to see how often they're using it.
You're using
they're using Pendo a lot, whether it's CS, product, even the sales parts of the organization. Everyone's kind of looking into that. Marketing uses it to find champions, to find advocates, looking at who's using our product the most. Let's reach out to them and see if they want to be a case study, whether they want to speak at a conference, whether they want to do some thought leadership through our Product Craft brand.
Do you think is the excitement around onboarding, which is healthy and positive, is that sort of diminishing some of the other stuff that Pendo can help with, the retention? There seems to be so much focus on, we use Pendo for onboarding, but what about later in the journey, or as the customer matures?
It's interesting. We're bought for a lot of different reasons. Onboarding is one of them. We're bought a lot just for pure product analytics is an early entry point for us. We're bought a lot for NPS, right? Because it's really cool with Pendo. You can combine NPS and data. Show me the NPS of people that use the product a lot versus those who don't. Show me the NPS of people that are spending a lot of money with us versus those who don't. Show me what features promoters use versus detractors, because you can slice and dice things that way. Do you have a built-in
NPS module?
Yes, built-in NPS module, and some cool visualizations I just talked about, where you can say let's show promoters and detractors, and let's see the feature spread, right?
Totally.
So you can find out that promoters are using these 3 features, so maybe those are things we want to promote during onboarding.
I'm going to go back to my team and ask exactly that. Well, Eric said
we can figure out what promoters are using. You can.
Yeah, totally. No, I think that's fantastic. So you have, let's switch gears a little bit. Pendo's been on an incredible growth tear. I think it was number 26 on the Fast 500.
Yeah.
Incredible multiples over the past, growth multiples over the past years. You've raised $200 million in funding or over.
That's a crazy big number.
I mean, would
sometimes.
you ever have thought, that this is where the path would have taken you? And tell me a little bit, like what's been good, what's been bad, what's interesting or unexpected about this journey?
Growing this quickly definitely brings challenges, right?
Sure.
You have to make sure you adapt to things quickly. You have to think about changing things that might still be working in some ways, knowing that they're not going to work at the next stage of growth. So there's a lot of challenges. One of the best things we did early was actually hire recruiters, like bring them in house, because just the hiring process, it's really important. As we all say, like, oh, people are everything, and it's true. Having great people, and we have some great people at Pendo that are just a joy to work with. But you have to spend time. You have to really invest in that, and we invested it both on the interview side and the recruiting side.
Yeah, totally.
So, we'd spend a lot of time. I mean, Todd, our CEO, still does a vast majority of our new hires. He interviews, right? And so our executive team was always interviewing a lot, and early going. So we invested in that process. We invested heavily in our culture and our core values, which I think makes it easy to hire and keep the right people. And
did you
early hiring of recruiters was so good because it took a lot of that recruiting part of the cycle off of our load.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, people are the biggest amplifier, right?
Absolutely.
So most customers, most companies start working on or start defining culture and vision and mission too late. It's sort of it's in the executives' vocabulary, but they start doing that later than they probably should.
Yes.
And your current role is chief evangelist.
Chief
right?
evangelist, and I've actually taken over our Adopt product line now too.
Okay.
So I have a number.
You're getting back to so you're getting back to product.
I'm getting back to selling product in this case.
Yeah, maybe you never left that,
running
right?
a business unit where think of me as GM of Adopt, right? Now we're helping take that to market.
Let's stay on the culture and the people and your evangelism topic, right? How important is it to make sure that the employees are completely on board? They know what the mission is, and how does that affect the external evangelism of the product?
I think super important to have everyone embracing the core values and the culture from the get-go, right? And like you said, a lot of people wait too late to establish those things. And shout out to Shannon Bauman, one of our early employees, ex-Google product manager. It's funny, we hired one of our first hires, even as a product person, was a product manager and someone to run product for us. But he was a big pusher.
You know what you know?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. He was a big push for culture. He was a big influence on our early culture and the importance of the culture. And I always knew culture was important for hiring the right people, for like getting everyone rowing in the same direction. But I don't think until Pendo I realized how important it was, especially when you're growing that quickly. So I think having everyone on the same page becomes part of who Pendo is. And then evangelism is kind of then externally is an extension of that, is kind of like taking what Pendo is and what Pendo feels like and the emotions around Pendo and the enthusiasm, and pushing that out to a broader world and getting them to be like, because we're really partners in making our customers successful. We help them build products their customers love. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a little meta in some ways, but we're really an extension of their product team. Our product is an extension of their product team.
And so maybe just a quick sideline there. As far as that customer interface goes, do you have a success team? Do you have a traditional sales, account management, support team? How does that interface work?
We have a traditional success team. We have a sales team. I'm a big believer that while product can help sell itself, so to speak, it doesn't sell itself. It helps sell itself. Right. You still need a sales team at a certain stage in order to really be able to scale and grow quickly. So we're structured with a really strong go-to-market team, a really great marketing group that does both marketing for Pendo, but also marketing for the community. Right. I personally run a podcast called Product Love. That's all just about giving back to the community, interviewing product managers, product leaders, and getting them to, tell their secrets or talk about an area they're passionate about.
Right, because that benefits all the other businesses as well, right?
Yeah, it benefits everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, tell me about what's next.
Oh, next for Pendo is, what's the saying with expectations are high. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
When you raise a good chunk of money, you got to keep growing. You got to keep building.
And the latest raise was this past month, right?
It was,
Or in November. It was announced in November.
I can't remember exactly when it was announced. If it was October or November, but yes, it was announced recently, and it was closed a little bit before that. But yes, it's been recent. Yeah. Super exciting. Super excited to have some of the new investors on board. GA has been great so far. All of our investors have always been great. Yep. Battery betting on us early as an A's company. Spark and Megan Quinn coming on board. We've been blessed with some really good investors. Rajiv from Sapphire is another one. Rob Ward. So we've had some really capable people, join the kind of the Pendo mission, the Pendo vision. So super excited about that.
All about people, right? Everything from the board on down, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, some of the best advice we got early on was raising pricing. So came directly from a board conversation. Yep. So it's. Expectations are high.
I'm sure they are.
But there's an opportunity to build something great. I mean, now all of a sudden, product management's changed a lot since we've been involved in it.
Yep.
There's now a product stack, right? And a lot of that is powered by Pendo, which is awesome. I love to see that.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? This whole idea of product being at the center of not only SaaS companies, but a lot of software companies. And, this is where the value exists.
I mean, everyone's a software company.
Everybody,
right? Software
and
eating the world, right? We have a lot of Fortune 1000s now that are hiring product managers and product organizations. Yep. And obviously, Pendo's a good fit for them. So we're doing more and more business in the Fortune 1000, which I love to see, as they start thinking about how they build out their software, whether it's internal or external, based upon product best practices that you would see at commercial software.
Yeah, 100%. So is there anything that we haven't covered that you think we should cover?
That's always a tough question to answer.
It totally is, right?
There's so many things, like you had a question, how do you start your morning? Usually I try to start with a little more sleep, but this needs to do one more time. I'm not the best morning person. I'm a much better night person.
Well,
absolutely.
I think most product people are. I don't know
really?
why that is.
Could be.
But I think there's something about there's sort of a creative energy that starts happening later
I'm much happier still up at 1 a.m. than getting up at 5 a.m.
I mean, things have changed. When you have kids, things totally change, right? But
I did that even with children. With my daughter, though, sadly, I remember she'd wake up early on a Saturday morning. I'd be tired, and I'd be like, "There's a television. I'll go down on the couch and I'll sleep a little while next to you while you watch the Teletubbies or whatever happened to me." Which probably isn't the best, parenting advice, but there's a good bit of Saturday mornings.
I think there's probably a couple million parents that are doing that, right? Yeah. So, well, you know what, Eric? I think this has been absolutely fantastic. So I've really enjoyed this. Congrats on the success.
Thank you. This has been great.
Again. Awesome.